Topping today's news, NBA star Buddy Hield appointed as ambassador for the Bahamas. Prime Minister Davis clarifies his comments about media reports on crime, the opposition chastising the government's failure to answer pertinent questions in Parliament, and Abaco MP Pinder says employers are responsible for housing foreign laborers on work permit. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jarino Saunders, and this is your JCN Evening News, and it is a pleasure to have you join us. While the NBA is on the All-Star break weekend, Grand Bahama superstar Buddy Hield flew home to the Bahamas for a special occasion. Earlier today, Prime Minister Philip Davis announced Buddy as ambassador at large for the Bahamas. Prime Minister Davis says Buddy is more than deserving of the title, especially because of his dedication towards youth development.
The Bahamas, we are reminded of a profound truth from the scriptures. Your gifts will make room for you. Buddy's story is the embodiment of wisdom. In every dribble, every shot, and every game, Buddy has carried the heart of our nation, demonstrating to the world what we as Bahamians are capable of achieving. But what's truly remarkable is how he's used his platform. Returning home, leading camps, uplifting the youth. But he has shown us that success isn't just about reaching the top. It's about how many people you bring along with you.
In response, Ambassador Hield says he is grateful to receive the title and is more than ready to take on the mantle of helping youth here in the Bahamas.
First of all, I want to thank God for this opportunity, for blessing me. To Honorable Philip Davis, Minister of Foreign Affairs, my family, and the Bahamian people, thank you. I'm just grateful for the opportunity, not for me just being as Bahamian, but also for me, for my journey from MBA, but also when I'm at my peak now, I want to take advantage of all opportunities into being a businessman and taking care of the youth of the Bahamas because they are the future.
Ambassador Hield says he is happy that he can inspire people both on and off the court. Buddy joins Chris Brown and Rick Fox, who were appointed as ambassadors at large for the Bahamas in sports and national development in 2023. Prime Minister Philip Davis is assuring residents of the Nassau Village community that the Davis administration is committed to fostering community engagement and enhancing public safety amid the rash of violent crimes in that community. On Thursday, the Prime Minister inspected progress being made on the Nassau Village Community Center, and he even plastered some cement on one of the walls, showing off his masonry skills. He addressed the significance of having stronger and safer communities throughout the country.
Here in Nassau Village, I'll be going to communities throughout New Providence to demonstrate my administration's commitment to building stronger and safer neighborhoods. As your Prime Minister, my vision is of a Bahamas where everyone feels secure, where everyone is nurtured, and where every individual can thrive. This community center is a small yet significant step in that direction. This center will be an urban sanctuary, a bastion of our commitment to safety and security.
Prime Minister Davis acknowledged the effect the crime crisis has had on the Nassau Village community, emphasizing the importance of his administration's crime plan.
And it is true that when the history of these times is written, it will likely record that the opening weeks of the year 2024 were difficult ones. Difficult ones indeed, filled with heartbreak and challenges. Last year, our country made important progress against crime, with significant decreases across major categories of crime compared to the year before that. But at the start of 2024, we were painfully reminded that progress does not always march forward in a straight line. Sometimes you take several steps forward, only to take a step back. We faced tragedy in January, but nothing is going to stop us from getting right back on that road to progress. We have a comprehensive and detailed plan to fight crime.
After the visit to the community center, Prime Minister Davis met with residents going house to house on Taylor Street. He was joined by senior members of the Royal Bahamas Police Force. A few days ago, Prime Minister Philip Davis spoke to members of the press about crime news taking priority, particularly on the front page of daily newspapers and to start radio and TV broadcasts. He suggested the way local media carry crime news can negatively impact tourism. However, some media houses felt as though the Prime Minister was trying to dictate to the media and suppress crime news. Well, on Thursday, while on that Nassau Village community walkabout, Prime Minister Davis explained that he is not trying to dictate how the media reports.
I'm not trying to censor the media. I'm not a dictator. I believe, and all of you who are in the free press appreciate that I have the highest respect for the press and its involvement in the dissemination of information. I do, of course, have my views as to how that is to be done, but it has nothing to do with my belief in a free press, free and open press, and the ability to report that which they see, and also to opine on it in their editorial columns. So any view that I may be trying to dictate to, you all were present. And I would have expected those who were present when I made that statement to be able to say the context in which I said it. I did say specifically, this is not to dictate to you what you ought to do, but I want you to consider how you go about reporting these things. And I ask you to take a look at how it is done around the world and see whether or not it is as prominent a feature in a newspaper as it is in our newspaper.
Although some members of the press do believe there is nothing wrong with the way news is reported, the Prime Minister hopes that media is more careful and sensitive about how they report certain stories that can hurt the country's economy. During the monthly question and answer period in the House of Assembly on Wednesday, the Davis administration appeared to be unwilling or unprepared to answer certain questions placed on the floor by the opposition, who had many questions for the government. Opposition leader Michael Pintard asked the government about the reported $150 million in arrears owed by the Bahamas Power and Light, BPL, which the opposition believes occurred under the Davis administration and not a legacy debt as the government is suggesting.
Will the Honourable Minister provide this Honourable House with the breakdown of BPL's $150 million arrears?
Madam Speaker, with all due respect, I must admit my confusion regarding the $150 million in arrears inquiry posed by the Honourable Member. I'm uncertain whether the question pertains to liabilities owed by Bahamas Power and Light or to monies that are due to BPL. To provide a precise and informed response, I kindly request further clarity at a later date from the Honourable Member regarding the specifics of their query.
Mr. Pintard reminded of the rules of the House, which allows the opposition to ask such questions. The opposition leader followed up with a question for the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Fred Mitchell, who was absent at the time.
Will the Honourable Minister, and in his absence, one of his colleagues, advise the Honourable House on the number of envoys this administration or ambassadors, representatives of the country that have been added, and what are they being paid for? What is the amount that they are being paid? So just to restate, will the Honourable Minister advise the Honourable House on the number of envoys this administration has hired and added, and what is the compensation package for them?
In relation to the question posed to the Minister of Foreign Affairs in his absence, the answer is that the research is currently ongoing on this particular question, and as soon as it's made available, we will revert to the Honourable House.
The answer from the Member of Parliament for Nassau Village, Jamal Strawn, who serves as the Parliamentary Secretary for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, did not suffice for Opposition Leader Pintard, who continued to press.
Madam Speaker, the point is clearly made that we have the right, Madam Speaker, to follow up with a related question. Only if the question is completely unrelated, Madam Speaker, then such a concern that has been raised is valid. It was a related question. The question was about what accounted for the delay, given almost 5 months later. Was it due to the volume of persons that have been appointed? What could possibly have been, and Madam Speaker, that is relevant.
If the reason, research, it's not in the minister's research, it's the research by the public officers.
And finally, in this segment, after the government's failure to answer many of the pertinent questions placed on the floor in Parliament by the opposition on Wednesday, the opposition's deputy leader, Shannon Dawn Cartwright, on Thursday said this is absolutely unacceptable.
The government's refusal to answer questions put by the Bahamian people through the opposition in an adequate and substantive way was shameful, disgraceful, and reflects the arrogance of this government. They continue to dismiss the concerns and cries of the Bahamian people. The government and its ministers have an obligation and responsibility to answer the Bahamian people on the many issues facing them. What the Bahamian people saw yesterday in the House of Assembly was nothing short of a charade. They have essentially told the Bahamian people, we don't have to answer to you.
Mr. Cartwright was also critical of the Minister of Energy and Transport, JoBeth Kobe Davis, to whom a number of questions regarding Bahamas Power and Light were asked of her.
The fact that the minister responsible for BPL could not give an answer to the Bahamian people regarding fundamental issues of financial liabilities and risks after the question has been on the House floor for 5 long months is an insult to the Bahamian people. The $110 million loan is particularly concerning for many Bahamians, as this issue continues to impact the high electricity bills experienced by thousands of consumers. Yet, the government refuses to answer, or worse, does not know the answer.
Mr. Cartwright said the government continues to show disregard for the Bahamian people as they dismiss important questions of national interest. He wanted to remind the Speaker of the House that she has an obligation to objectivity and neutrality and a duty to stop any perception that she is facilitating what he referred to as the government's no-answer strategy. The House meets again on Wednesday, February 21st, with the next question and answer session set for March 13th. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.